Hello, good morning to everyone here and virtually here through the webcast. I want to start off by just picking up where Mike left off, or began, and that was that we're in a time space when corporate social responsibility and sustainability are no longer in conflict with commercial success, perhaps essential to it. The other thing that I want to punctuate this morning is, while we may be pleased with what's been done in standards, we should in no way be satisfied. Because what we just heard is that as the ITU and other standards bodies, ATIS and others around the world that we're involved with, we're all doing is taking a look back. We're taking a look back at standards we've done. We've taken a look back at architectures we've implemented. We're taking a look back at things that could impact, or how we could quantify or describe what we've done. And everybody's in a struggle to make it look pretty. Okay? Well, we can be pleased with some of the accomplishments, but it's inadequate. What we need to do, and what's starting here, is to look forward and start at the beginning of the innovation process, at the source of it, through standards. And so while it should be an enjoyable day and a half, while it should be building teams, it should be a call to action, because it's been inadequate if you look back. I'm going to take a look at, when I get my technology, here we go. If you take a look at what's happening here, as you move around the world and you speak to people, you find that there's a big discussion going on. It's around the shifting power equation. Is the power moving from west to east? Is the power moving from private equity, public equities into private equities? Is it moving from public policy into corporate governance? Well, I think actually the debate is actually over, and power's moving to the people. And what does that mean around the work ahead for us? Let's take a quick look. Power moving to the people. I'd like to give you 3 examples. Everybody likes to talk about Google, eBay, and Facebook, right? Well, let's take a different look at them. Is the power in Google, eBay, and Facebook, is it in the networks? Is it in the systems? Is it in the process? Or is it in eBay? Is it the rubbish that we all sell? Okay? If you take a look at Google, is the power in the networks, the systems, the algorithms, or is it in the questions that we all ask? That's what they didn't have just a second ago, was the question on our mind. If you take a look at Facebook, is the power in the networks, in the systems, the algorithms, or is it in the faces on Facebook? What you see is power shifting to the people. It's actually the people that cause the value in that. Well, what you see here is a simple picture of the electrification that's gone on thus far. And 25% of the world's population doesn't have electricity today. Well, if the power is shifting to the people, we heard that the work is going to shift to the people. Okay, we just heard that in the ITU, that we're going to begin, instead of shipping people to the work, we're going to ship the work to the people. Well, what you're also going to see is you're going to see power generation as the next billion people come into the global economy. You're going to see where power is generated, where technology is deployed, and it's going to move closer to the people. It's moving away from the corporate center and being empowered by the people. And I think that it's really important, as you look at the role we've had. UNESCO here, who gives us this information that says, if you had the same power consumption as the U.S. on a per capita basis, at current levels it would take 3 Earths to deliver to those people. Take it and mapping this out. Let's talk about what we can do in standards and in the ITU. For example, we heard that the ICT marketplace represents about 2% of the carbon emissions today. Okay, estimated to grow to about 2.3 by 2012. But do you know that that's equivalent to the airline industry? Okay, so with all of the much reported punishment about being carbon inefficient. The airline, we're right up there with them. I had the opportunity to speak to the 50th anniversary of the IEEE and looking through and pulling together some numbers. All of the network system computing device technology that we've invented, we put the gauntlet down in front of the IEEE as well on this, is consuming an estimated 125 terawatt hours, 350 million tons of coal. So when you look at this little chart here that says, take India, 1950, where they're at in per capita consumption today, right at where Japan was in 1950. Well, the only difference is there is about 10 to 11 times the population here looking to grow on this curve of the developed world, and not even close to what we have, in the UK and the US in terms of consumption. So the challenge for the standards communities around the world, and particularly at ITU in its global impact, is to get ahead of this and drive these down and drive the slope much faster, or much lower, but to bring and welcome and embrace that next billion people that are going to join our global economy into the benefits that come from ICT. We've said that the 50% of the GDP growth in the first slide coming from ICT. Well, these next billion people deserve it, and the billion after that do as well. But we have a big challenge. I love this chart because I think it says, if you take, and by the way, I didn't put China on here, but it's largely the same shape as India. So when you take that couple billion people, you really can start to see the gravity of the impact and the opportunity that we have to work here. Just a final slide to share with you around how we can work together. Mike spoke about the area of generation, right? In generation, what we're doing is taking a look at generating low carbon power at the source of the consumption, using carbon-friendly technologies. We're also looking at feeding the grid with some 25% of our energy consumption out of renewables. And broader than that, doing smart purchasing in every area of the BT procurement. It used to be to buy it cheaply. Then it moved to buying in whole life cost. And then it moved to buying it in a ethical purchasing. And now it moves to ecological purchasing, putting our money where our mouth is on the energy purchasing, on the equipment purchasing, and creating some bite if people don't move this way with economic might that the companies represented around the world have. So generation, if you look at in the equipment side of things, the number of innovations, if we start at the beginning with the innovation, as opposed to looking back and describing it cleverly, in BT we invented a technology called a combo card. All broadband on planet Earth used to have a PSTN port and a broadband port. And when the wires would come into the exchange, we would create jumpers and move them into the broadband port and the PSTN port. But with some simple innovation, those were collapsed into one. And you had a combo port. The carbon footprint increase was, or decrease, was about 95% reduction in the power versus both of them. Other ways in terms of cool broadband, there's all kinds of work to be done here, and the measurements that Mike talked about putting in place are essential for us to know whether or not we're moving ahead or slipping backwards. Architectures. In BT's data centers alone, Strathclyde has done a survey of taking architectures and moving from legacy data center architectures to modern architectures where we're using forced air cooling, where we're using DC power, where we're using virtualization, and we've taken 8.3 gigawatts of consumption out of our data center usage. Again, pleased but not satisfied, but architectures have a huge amount. So we can build incredibly efficient equipment and devices and put them together in pathetically consumptive ways. Or we could build really poorly built kit and put them together in clever ways. But the challenge here is to get the measures right and build the efficient kit, put them together in incredibly innovative architectures, and then the innovation around all of this. If you take a look at ICT at its core, to stem it from growing from the 2 to 2.3% of carbon emissions it represents today, the impact on the adjacent industries can be profound. Some studies say that if we get ahead of this, I actually think it's a bit anemic, but some say that we can actually reduce the carbon footprint in the whole rest of the pie by some 5%, causing the ICT industry at large to be a carbon neutral or friendly industry to society at large. When you look at the growth of the global population, when you look at the right to play, when you look at the fact that we've been looking backwards as opposed to looking forward, I think that you'll all remember today as a point when the ITU takes a definitive step towards enhancing the quality of people's lives and the success of businesses globally by thinking about their lives at the beginning as opposed to the clever look back. And with that, I'm gonna just leave it with you. I hope you're feeling challenged this morning, both here in the room and on the web, but enthused that you sit at a incredible crossroads. Right here in the center, you know, the ITU working with the IEEE, ETSI, and ATIS, organizations like this around the world to get it right the first time, every time. Take care, and thank you very much for your attention.